Howdy Ags, I'm Annabelle, and this is The Rundown, brought to you by Voice, a student organization dedicated to helping you figure out what the hell is going on in the world. Our first correspondent is Blade Angel on the Ukraine.
Howdy Ags. So as much as I love geopolitics, two things have really been giving me massive headaches. One is my current caffeine detox, see it's empty. And the other thing is how often the political system in the Ukraine is changing every single day, because it means everything I write is invalid. Now, historically, the Ukraine has been the breadbasket of Russia. However, since it got its independence from the USSR, it has been seeking to increase its ties with the European Union. Unfortunately, the Ukraine's entire natural gas system is held together by Russian exports. And what this means for them is that they often find it hard to escape Russian influence, which is why their economy has been so anemic for the last quarter of a century. So in November of last year, the Ukraine was set to sign a historic trade deal with the European Union, promoting free trade. However, after heavy pressure from Russian President Vladimir Putin, the recently dismissed Ukrainian President Viktor Yanukovych came under heavy fire and inspired protests all across Kiev and the rest of the Ukraine. Over the course of the next several months, pressure mounted, several government officials were dismissed, and now the president has even been deposed and has fled the Ukraine itself, with a new interim president placed in power. This new interim president is looking more towards the West for deals with the European Union, as he continues to try to escape Russian influence. Now, the biggest fight is going to come in May of this year, whenever they have new elections. Historically, the eastern part of the Ukraine has always looked towards Moscow as the center of regional political influence, whereas the western part of the Ukraine has always looked towards Brussels, London, Paris, and the rest of the European Union. What this means is that in May, the Ukraine is going to have a very big battle between the east and the west as they continue to decide whether they want to be part of the Russian domain or whether they want to move on towards a new future within the European Union. Ags, I'll see you next week.
Thanks, Blade, for that fascinating story. Up next is Haley with her segment, Names to Know.
Alright, what up, student body? It's your girl HC. Alright, I'm gonna bring you names to know, and this week we doing the European Union. Okay, so first off, let's take a look at some field footage where I asked some fellow Aggies how much they know about the leaders of the European Union. Okay, the question is who's the Chancellor of Germany and who's the President of France? You ready? You ready? Alright, so do you know who the Chancellor of Germany is?
I know it's a woman.
Okay.
I don't know her name.
So close. So who is the Chancellor of Germany?
It's a girl. I know it's a girl, I know that.
Yeah. Alright, it's pretty close.
No idea.
Alright, now do you know who the President of France is?
No.
And then who's the President of France?
I know who it used to be, I don't know who it is now.
Do you know who
it was? Sarkozy?
Okay, yeah. Alright, who's the President of France?
Oh, I know this one. Oh gosh. I know he has a mistress.
Yeah, that's what I was gonna say, and his wife was in the hospital.
Yes! Our dear Marilyn Monroe once said, well-behaved women never make history. Well, our first European Union leader has certainly already made her mark, coming in at Forbes' #1 most powerful woman for the last 8 out of 10 years. 8 out of 10. And came in at #5 most powerful people in the world. Who is this powerhouse of the EU? This stone cold fox, aka Angela Merkel, is one bad bitch. Merkel is the Chancellor of Germany and was just reinstated last year for her 3rd term, making her the Chancellor since 2005. She could quite possibly be the only topic that's been trending for over a decade. Now on our second EU name to know, Francois Hollande. Hollande replaced Nicolas Sarkozy for the President of France in 2012. What's he been in the news for lately? Since then, he's responsible for a current approval rating of less than 20%. Hollande has been in the news for an alleged affair which he admitted to a few months ago, and shortly after that, the ex-First Lady wound up in the hospital. No one knows what really happened. And for the cherry on top, France's unemployment rate has risen to an 11.1%. It's the highest rating in the past century. This has been HC with your names to know. See you next time.
Thanks, Haley. Now, next up, Laura, with her segment on what really is going on in Syria.
So, over the last years, we've heard a lot about Syria, and I mean a lot. Ever since it started as a protest in March 2011, according to the UN, there have been over 120,000 deaths. So, who was involved in this conflict? First, we have the forces of Bashar al-Assad, the president of Syria. On the other side, we have the rebels, who are organized into many different sections, though the most well-known is the Free Syrian Army. So, what went down? It started March 15th, 2011 as part of the Arab Spring. However, the army was deployed, which turned it into an armed rebellion, and then shit hit the fan. They've been fighting in the streets, bombing. They tried to have a UN-mediated ceasefire in 2012, however, both sides just blatantly ignored it. From then on, there's been fighting, there's been massacres. I'm sure you heard last year about all the chemical weapons. Yeah. Both sides have been accused of using them, and both sides have been linked to several deaths involving sarin gas, which is the main chemical weapon that they use. So, finally, this year, they started to negotiate. Already 2 talks have taken place, and a 3rd one has been agreed upon, though no date is set. However, the UN mediator says nothing's happened. Both sides are too caught up on terrorism and the transitional government to even try and create some sort of idea of what they're going to do. However, the UN has ordered both sides to stop blocking humanitarian aid, though as we've seen with the ceasefire, let's see if they actually pay attention to it.
Thanks, Laura. In closing, Ags, don't forget about the March 4th primary elections. If you care even a little itty bit about who's repping your party for state governor, lieutenant governor, or U.S. Congress come the November general election, then show up to your precinct on March 4th. So thanks for listening, Ags. This has been The Rundown, brought to you by Voice. Leave comments!
What? Oh, I thought we were going to do the do you like us thing again. Let's do the whole thing.
Let's go.
Okay. Do you like us? Do you think they like us?
What'd you think of the show?
Leave comments
and suggestions.
Thanks and gig 'em.
Actually, it was pretty good.